Hi guys, it's Erica Heron, author of First Dollar Feeling, here for this edition of First Dollar Friday. So today we are tackling a major theme from 2020 and 2021, and that is resilience, right? Which I realize every other coach and business consultant and everything else has posted a dozen different videos of resilience and navigating storms and stuff like that. I am speaking today from personal experience, and I'm hoping that there are, other entrepreneurs out there who are struggling with everything else that they're hearing and need kind of a different perspective. So if that's you, this video is for you. So what is resilience, right? Typically when we think about resilience, we think about the toughness of something, the ability of something to push through struggles and obstacles and tragedies, and usually things that are all external factors that manage to navigate and weasel their way into the master plan, right? That have the ability to derail us. So your ability to snap back into staying on your goals, continuing to push forward, maybe making some adjustments, but the ability to navigate through that is what's considered resilience. Because resilience is, such a big buzzword, I prefer the word grit. To me, that more resonates with who I am and how I approach it, right? That toughness area. So why do you need it, right? And this seems kind of like an obvious response, but I want to go through it anyway because I think that it's important. As an entrepreneur, there is a different level that is required for this concept of grit, resilience, toughness, because not only especially if you are an employer firm, if you have employees, as you're navigating through things like the entire year of 2020 and 2021, as we've seen it today, you are not only responsible for keeping yourself on track, you are also responsible for making sure your employees are okay. You are responsible for keeping them moving forward in that vision when they've got issues going on in their own lives as well. So if you're faltering, if you're failing, they're going to feel that, and they're either going to jump ship and you're going to lose employees, which is going to make the situation worse because nobody likes turnover. It's expensive and it's time consuming and it sucks. But in order to keep that team solvent, right? Like, you have to set the example for being able to weather those kind of things. And you have to be looking out for people. And if you're looking out for people, you yourself have to have that strength, that strong core, that resilience. So as an entrepreneur, if you want to scale to the point of having employees, you're going to have to build up that skill. And running a business in general, like on a day-to-day basis, when everything is going great, stuff still happens. And I did not mean to say stuff. Like, it just, there is always something going on. There is always something that goes wrong, even when the market was doing well, even when before COVID happened. Like, there were things when I was dealing with my rebrand where I had a software provider that decided that the salesperson he sent out and talked to thousands of clients, by the way, we had invested in a back-end software to organize our clients, to organize our CRM stuff, and to organize our operational practices. Like, we found this great software. We had invested quite a bit of money, and I invested quite a bit of money in payroll to get my team to set it up, to get everyone trained and everything else. After I had everyone trained and we had a couple different elements that had to go through that just weren't making its way through, I finally had the CEO of the software company contact me and say, yeah, we had a guy that was our sales guy, and he's been telling people things that aren't accurate, so we can't actually do that. And these were elements that we had been asking for, that we had gone to tech support, that they said, yeah, we're going to be able to figure this out for you. The sales guy had said, yeah, we're going to be able to figure this out for you. Nobody had. And these were the entire reason why we selected that software. Yeah, he came back and said, sorry, we can't do that. It's our sales guy's fault. Long story short, and we ended up getting reimbursed for the software cost. But I was still out of the payroll, right? We were literally 2 weeks before launch, and this was after we had pushed our launch back 60 days already. So I had 2 weeks to set up a back-end software set up for our operations for our CRM that was supposed to take, that we had budgeted 3 months for. I had 2 weeks to get that in order to stay on track. We were able to pull together, we were able to find a combination of software solutions that were able to get that through. We launched on time. But I gotta tell you, like the moment that I got that email saying, no, we can't do this, and I'm looking at all the money that I had spent and all of the time that we had invested and all the work that my team had put in, making this just right and going through the tech support and going through all of these consultations. And then it was a gut check, right? And again, this was 2 weeks in March 2020, right before COVID hit. So we got hit with that. We pivoted around, fixed it. And then COVID hit, and I was in Idaho at the time. So that was around the time that all of the shutdowns in Idaho happened. So we launched, and literally a week after that, everything shut down. So all of our client base, which is all small business across the country, and we had a solid base in Idaho, we're freaking out going, we don't know how long the shutdown's going to happen. We don't know how long until we're able to operate. Our revenue's getting cut, so therefore their ability to pay my company, which is a marketing agency, went down as well. So we slowly started seeing the effects of that on our client base right after a rebrand, right after all of these other things. And then, so after that, we ended up, my husband is active duty military. So we were told, fast forward to May, we were told, well, nobody's moving in COVID because there's a travel ban. So you're not going to PCS. You're not going to change your duty station until 2021. So get comfortable. Like, you guys are going to be here for a while. 5 days later, literally 5 days later, my husband got the call that we were getting orders to the opposite coast. We ended up from Idaho to the New York tri-state area. So again, I had just told my team the week before, no, we're staying, we're good, we're going to be stable, we're going to focus on these things. And then I had to go back to my team and say, nope, I have to move our headquarters because I'm moving and we have to shift all the way to the opposite coast. Not the story you want to tell your team, right? So we had to figure that one out. I had a 2-year-old, she's now 3 at the time, but we got the information in May, we got orders in June, and we moved in August. So we had to renovate our house, sell our house, buy a new house on the other side of the country without being there because I couldn't fly out there and look for homes or office space or anything like that. And we had to make that shift. So that was just up to August of 2020. And I say all that as an example of how many times you get hit just in the business life as an entrepreneur, and you are expected to know what the next step is. Like my team, I've got a great team, and they've got that director mentality, and they're all go, go, go. They're all willing to jump in however I need them. But the reality is when something like that happens, they're looking at me going, okay, what do we do? What are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? How are we going to continue moving forward? And my story isn't necessarily unique in the sense that every single business owner out there has taken some serious hits in 2020. Your hits may look different than mine, but like you've been through some stuff, right? Like this has been a hard year, and it's not getting any easier in 2021, even as we're starting to see things open with vaccines and everything else. There's always something else that's going to create an issue. Running a business is tough. Running a business is hard. Starting a business is hard. Running it is hard. Selling it is hard. All of these things require a certain level of grit, a certain level of toughness to be able to get through it. If I did not have that skill, we would have failed. Like so fast. It requires a certain level of that foundation, that core of we can make it through no matter what, right? You got to have that. You got to have that grit. You got to be able to navigate through and be able to convey that to your team. So as an entrepreneur, if you are serious about growing your business, if you are serious about staying on track or better in 2021 and beyond, I can't talk today, you're going to have to be able to stick through that. So Now that we've talked about resilience and grit and why you need it and what it is, let's talk about how you're going to build it, right? Now that I've exhausted you with my 2020 story. So one of the big things is to be prepared. You know, there's that motto of prepare for the worst, hope for the best. One of my entrepreneurial superpowers and personal setbacks is the ability to assess risk 10,000 miles away, right? I'm a PR person. Like, the core of who I am, I was a reporter, I was in public relations, I was in crisis communications. That's what I do. So it is my job to spot when something could possibly go wrong way before it ever gets here, and to set up processes that prevent that from happening. So one of the big things that you can do in your business to build up resilience for yourself and your team is to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I know that there is a lot of talk out there about, you know, you have to think positive. If you say something's going to happen, it's going to manifest into happening. That positive Polly type of mentality. I don't know how else to frame that. And I don't mean that in an obnoxious way, but to me, it doesn't resonate with me, right? And I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are like that, where staying there saying, I'm just going to believe that it's going to be okay, and therefore it's going to be okay, doesn't work for a lot of us. If that is you, setting up processes and procedures in your business and in your life can help you when those things happen. So if something, I've always known that if something happened in the business, which like I just explained, there were quite a few things that hit in 2020. If I had taken out a large loan thinking, if I take out $100,000 loan to hire people and to do all of that, I would have still been on the hook to pay that when my revenue dropped. That adds to my overhead. Because I decided I'm not sure what's going to happen, so I'm going to protect myself by self-funding this, and I'm going to be really rigid about how I spend my money, and I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. When things shifted, when the software stuff fell out the bottom, when we had to make a shift and everything else, I had the money in the account to be able to do that. I never had to worry about payroll. We didn't get the PPP loan, and a lot of other businesses in the same boat, where it's like, we could use the help because we want to pay our employees. We were one of the employees, or one of the employer firms, that did not receive that. So being able to say, I have money in savings, I prepared for a rainy day, right? Just like I do with our family savings, I always put a little bit away, just in case something goes wrong. So being able to assess risk, and we talked about trends in the last video that I published, that's part of it, is being able to look at something, because not all trends are positive. Sometimes it's pointing to even a growth shift that's going to cause some strain on the market. You got to be aware of those, and you got to be able to make smart plans for that before it hits, right? We have this image of entrepreneurs where we have to be all vision and all Elon Musk and all of this. We're just going to do whatever just because we can. When you're a small business and your entire life finances are tied into your business, when that is your job, when that is your sole income, you can't do that, right? Like, you can do it to some degree, but be smart. Be adventurous, but make sure that little safety hook before you jump off the cliff is tied to something strong, so that just in case something goes wrong, you're not going to fall, right? So again, being prepared, being able to see risk, spot risk, and create processes of just in case something goes wrong. And one of the biggest things you can do for your business is to create a cash flow budget, something that's going to make sure that every single month you are putting something away just in case something happens, because it's going to. I have a cash flow budget tool on the website. I'll drop the link in the comments. Feel free to download that, go through your own processes, see where you're kind of lacking, and be able to move forward on that. Because money is the lifeblood of business, as we all know. And one of the best ways to prepare your business for a rainy day is to set up a business savings so that you don't have to tap into credit and therefore increase your overhead. So be prepared is a great way to build resilience. Another thing is self-awareness. So on a personal level, like, you as an individual have to be able to continue to move forward. And that's really hard for entrepreneurs, because we're giving ourselves out everywhere, right? To our employees, to our clients. in our family, to our friends, all of this other things. Like there's a lot of take, just by the nature. And it's not a negative thing. Like your employees need you, your family needs you, your clients need you. It's not like they're sitting there trying to suck you dry. It's just that there's a lot of take, right? There's a lot of people taking from you. And if you're not replenishing that, it becomes really, really hard to be there when you're needed. It's like in the airplane, you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put the oxygen mask on anybody else, right? So being self-aware of where your limits are, and it's okay to have limits. That's a big thing. Like I'm halfway talking to myself right now because that's probably one of the bigger issues that we have as entrepreneurs is saying, I don't have any limits. I could do anything. I'm a superhero. No, you're human, and that's okay. So being able to be self-aware of where your limits are, and when you need to take a step back. Like there have been times where I've sat there and I've said, nope, I know that I have 10 hours of work to get done tonight, but I really need to sleep, and saying, I'm going to go to bed, and this is going to be there on the weekend just because I'm no longer operating at the level that I need to accomplish these tasks. It could be something as simple as that. It could be, finding a therapist or somewhere that you can talk to for your own mental health, to be able to say, okay, I need to talk to these frustrations because there's some things you can't tell your employees, and there's a lot of things that your family just isn't going to understand if they're not an entrepreneur. So having somebody that you can talk to over your mental health is a big deal. So having that self-awareness is a big part of resilience. Boundaries is another big one. So as you learn your limits and what you need, being able to say, okay, these are the boundaries I'm going to set in my personal life. Maybe that's saying that you need to go to bed at a certain time. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Like I said, sleep is a big thing for me. I don't operate well on no sleep, and I've been hit with the insomnia that comes with the pandemic stuff and working from home, all these things. So on top of the stress of being an entrepreneur. So if sleep is a big part of it for you, making that a priority and saying, I'm going to set this boundary that, these are the hours that I work and this is when I stop. That can add to your ability to weather some of the tougher things. It may be relationships, right? There may be people in your life that don't need to be in the inner circle, right? And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't need what you're giving off in this area right now because there's some struggle going on, and you're, again, one of those takers just for the sake of taking versus being in a mutually happy situation. So that may be friendships, that may be family relationships. Everybody is different. So as I've said that, there's probably a few people that popped into your head that like, yeah, this person, every time they walk in the room, it sucks the life out of it. Probably not somebody you need to have around on a regular basis, right? So setting those boundaries, setting those limits for yourself, just to maintain your own mental resilience, your mental elasticity, your ability to bounce back, right? If you can remove things that are going to take from you, that makes it easier. The things that don't have to take from you, it's the more of those that you can remove, the better. And then in your business, right? When things hit, like the software thing, like the move and everything else, it's really easy to sit there and pull your hair out and go, oh my gosh, this is such a big issue. I don't know how I'm going to climb through this. Instead of focusing everything that's going wrong, focus on what you can do. What can you fix? That was the first thing that came up when the software thing came out. As I looked at my team and I said, okay, this sucks, but how can we fix this? Right? Like the moment it happened, that was immediately the first thing that happened in my brain was, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to move forward? How can we approach this differently? And then you get through it. And then after you fix the issue, then you kind of sit there and go, oh my gosh, that was the worst thing ever, right? But teaching yourself that when you get to a problem, focusing on the solution first and working your way through that, sometimes that adrenaline of having something like that happen in your business really plays into that really well. And you're able to push forward with ideas that you may not have had before. Sometimes it stokes the process. So focus on what you can do and allow yourself to be open to some of those ideas. And finally, be intentional about team building. So your core support in your business is your team, right? And your ability to go to them when something goes wrong, when you feel like you're drowning, or when you feel like a problem is too overwhelming. You hired all of these smart people, all of these great people. Like, you hired all these people for a reason. So being able to go back to them and saying, how can we fix this? And again, that was the thing, is every time we've gotten hit, even with my move, I went back to my team and I said, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this better? How are we going to be able to navigate through this? And it was a we, right? It was, we as a team are going to get through this. And we did. So being intentional about the team that you've built up, and how you're going to leverage that. Who are you going to want on your side when those things start happening? That's really what it boils down to. So as you're hiring, like I said, that be prepared mentality, look at every single employee that you are bringing on board and say, when stuff hits the fan, and no, I did not mean to say stuff again. Is this somebody who is going to contribute? Is this somebody who is going to be a team player, drop what they're doing, work on the problem? Like, think NASA, right? Are they going to be able to sit there and drop everything you're doing, everybody from the janitor down? If you've seen Apollo 13, like, that's one of my favorite movies. They sit there and they say, you know, everybody in the room, work the problem. Stop what you're doing, work the problem, right? So if you don't have that kind of team where you can sit there and you can ask that of them and they're going to shift and take on that entrepreneurial mindset and move forward, they don't belong on your team. You're a small business, especially if you have 10 employees or less, like, you don't have the room for fluff, right? Especially if you're a self-funded business, like, you've got to be able to rely on your team on that level. So being intentional about your team building when you're hiring, when things are good, again, that goes back to that be prepared thing, and making sure that they're there when you need them. All right, so we've talked a lot. I think this is our longest video that we've done so far, but it's important, especially in 2020 and 2021. I cannot talk today. I apologize, guys. You know, the First Dollar Feeling project I designed because I want to see small businesses succeed. So resilience is a big part of that, your ability to take care of yourself and move forward. And again, half of this stuff I'm talking to myself because we're all dealing with it. So there is no shame in it. People who have been in business for 20 years or more got hit with 2020, and it looks completely different than anything else they've seen before. It's okay, right? Like, it's okay to use that to build up those resilience, those grit skills, and be able to move forward at any pace. So long as you are moving forward, I don't care how slowly you're moving forward, keep going, right? So I go a lot more into resilience and some of the soft skills that are required for entrepreneurship and things that you can do to build those up in First Dollar Feeling, which is available right now on Amazon. I have the link in our on our page, and I dropped it into the post description as well. Thanks for joining us. I know it was a longer video today, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there, and I hope that you found some use in it. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next Friday.